to another episode of Witty Wednesday. My name is Shirmei Nakai Mabiza. Thank you so much for tuning in today's episode. Please remember to like, to comment, to share, and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And thank you so much to all the returning subscribers. Today, I'm going to be talking about vulnerability. Now, for me, vulnerability is not only about breaking down, weeping, crying, moaning, but for me, vulnerability is acknowledging our flaws, facing our problems and our traumas, learning to live with them, accepting them, and maybe eventually growing out of them. And so, vulnerability is something that is really essential. And I want us to liken vulnerability to a wound that, if left unattended and if left just the way it is, it might eventually turn into something more infectious, a fungal disease, or anything more than just being a mere wound. We can also look at it as a chronic disease, which, if left unattended at the early stages, it can grow and eventually become into something that is more deadly than it was when it began. We have a terrible tendency of making vulnerability to appear as excruciating, to appear as something that is shameful, to an extent that we pretend that things are well when things are not. If I met someone in the road, Charmaine, boy, bo, she said bo. But deep down, you know that everything is not okay. And get me right, vulnerability does not only mean confiding in someone, telling someone your problems. However, it's about you as yourself, as an individual, facing your problems hands on and accepting them, learning, embracing each and every stage of it. And you see that eventually you learn to grow out of it. I was listening to Brene Brown, and she was talking about how it's quite unfortunate that we cannot selectively numb certain feelings. So, as human beings, we try to numb some certain emotions like fear, shame, but the moment we choose to numb something, we numb everything. So, when you try to numb shame, vulnerability, fear, you numb joy, you numb happiness, you numb true and sincere feelings of love. I strongly feel that the reason why the consumption rates of drugs, alcohol, and every other thing is high is because we are trying to run away from certain things. We're trying to numb those feelings of vulnerability, and it turns to something which is not good for our health, our mental and physical health. So I'm just trying to encourage us to face our problems hands on. I remember I was going through something, and a friend of mine, I told them that my biggest fear is that it's going to hurt. And the thing about pain is pain demands to be felt. That's the ugly truth. But what you do when you feel the pain is what separates boys from men. Vulnerability entails the willingness to do something without a guarantee that it's going to work out. It entails the guarantee of investing in a business that may or may not grow. It entails the willingness to invest in a relationship that may or may not work out. But vulnerability is facing all these things hands on and trying to make sure that you do what is best for you. Because vulnerability is a process of healing. It allows you to heal, it allows you to find yourself, and it births joy, births love, births happiness, and most importantly, it births satisfaction, personal satisfaction. The satisfaction that you are being yourself, you know that you're enough, and you're doing everything that is in your capacity to move from certain behaviors. You know, you can meet someone who's very, well, we call it moody, but who's very negative minded, who's very pessimistic, who gets angry quickly. And yes, they can be all those things, but if you try to look at it differently, or if you try to trace it back, you can find that there's certain events, there's certain life's proceedings that may have led to that person behaving in that way. And so we definitely need to face our problems. We need to acknowledge our flaws. We need to face our traumas, and that way we can be able to move on from certain things, be able to accept them, to learn to live with them, and maybe eventually grow out of them. Thank you so much for watching today. Please do remember to like, to share, to comment, and to subscribe. And until the next time, stay happy, stay beautiful, stay positive, and always remember to remind yourself that I am enough, because it is those self affirmations that take you a long way.